So I got one topic I wanted to kind of ask you about along the lines of your career. What do you, how many times did you go to ORS in your career, do you think? And how did that impact the lab, do you feel?
Well, I pretty soon, the veterinary meetings started to fade into the background because I was doing human-related stuff. So I thought, I better be seen, I better rub shoulders with some dudes. And often these orthopedic companies would say, oh, are you going to ORS? Or I'd have a poster there, and I'd stand in front of the poster with the bow tie on, and they would come up to me and said, look, I know you do sheep research. We'd like to bring our product, whether it be screw or whatever, or implant or plate or whatever, we'd like to try our implant in your lab. And then I used to say to people like you, don't go there without your business card. Yeah. Out comes business card. There's your email. That is a little bit easier to bring money for the lab than writing a NIH grant. To stand there and wine and dine with them and talk face to face about studies. And you don't have to make this a big announcement, but just sit down and have a cup of coffee with the people and that's how I attracted a lot of people. It's just the personal side of it. And then I'd be forced to have them for dinner at my house.
So it was definitely that was the main meeting that you did all of your networking.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. There's no doubt about it. I mean, occasionally I went to some veterinary meetings, but that started to fade into the background because I thought, I better rub shoulders with some big names here. And just seeing that, looking professional, they'd realize, hey, that's where I'm going to bring chin chin.
Yeah, it's important. I mean, certainly, I'm really glad that you've been able to come the last couple of years too, and enjoy not even the networking, but just being a part of our team.
Well, I'm fading out of that, Jeremiah. I may not be back to many, but I'm so happy that someone like yourself is being able to say, that's what I'm going to do. And me just explain to you, this is how the lab works. And you've seen exactly the ORS. You've got a business card. They've read your articles. That brings the money in. Because these human surgeons, they want to get with us. They're not going to go calling. They don't know anyone, but once they've got them, it just snowballed. And one lab had said, oh, so-and-so did a study using this drug. I want to try something different in your lab because there is a lot of money to be made in human-related stuff. This is not for sheep with broken legs. This is for osteoporosis in women and all that. And I'll remember that. This always gets a little bit of a buzz when I tell other human doctors. I have a paper where I documented hot flashes in sheep. People said, hot flashes in sheep? You can read the paper. I mean, I'm the third author, but I was the first to document it. Yeah. Hot flashes in sheep, not just elderly women. Not just your mother or my mother.
One thing I brought with me that I thought you could tell a story on. So you remember this?
Hey, where have we got this? I hope not.
So we were able to get it out of the wall because it was on the wall in the old lab. Remember?
Yes, right. Yeah, right.
So what's the story on that? Because I don't know if I've ever heard the full story of when he visited.
Well, that is the Steve Irwin.
Yeah, this is Steve Irwin that came to the lab, met Simon, and then signed the signed the wall in the old lab, right?
Right.
Over in the veterinary teaching hospital. So we were able to get this brick out of the wall still.
And now, remember who Steve Irwin is? What movie was he in?
Well, he's Crocodile Hunter, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Oh yeah.
Crocodile Hunter. And wrestling crocodiles. And I knew he was Australian. And once he heard me speak Australianese, we kind of bonded. Yeah. But he came here with a dog or something. Okay. He didn't come here to specifically see me. Right. He came because he had his veterinarian had referred him to come here because the dog had bone cancer or something like that. Yeah. And then I got to meet him and shake his hand. He's Steve Irwin. And we didn't go out to dinner or have dinner at my house or anything, but I got a felt pen, Sharpie or whatever, and he's wrote that on the wall.
So let's talk about health. That's important to you. You've done how many marathons in your life?
Okay, what's on the front cover of that?
Looks like they're playing football almost.
They're playing soccer.
Soccer, okay.
In Antarctica.
Yeah.
This is Shackleton. He realized, and you do too, how important exercise was. He kept 27 people alive and not killing each other in Antarctica, where I have been. And actually, I have cross-country skied in conditions like that in Antarctica.
You cross-country skied in it?
Yeah, yes, we did. And there's somewhere in here it says how important exercise is. Well, without getting too philosophical, I've done 9 marathons, 3 Bostons, 3 in San Francisco, New York, 1 here in Fort Collins, the 9th in Scottsdale, Arizona, 9 of them. But I can't do that SHIT anymore. But I want to keep my cholesterol down, my weight constant, and my blood pressure. They're all in good shape. But I've done 9 marathons, and honestly, I can lap swim, and I still cross-country ski, non-concussive, big cardio workouts without pounding the articular cartilage. So I still do that. But I don't want to do that anymore, but I'm looking after my health. The marathons used to be Jeremiah, when you're jogging, your blood circulation in your head is increased, and you'll start to get thoughts, and that comes out in this. A lot of thoughts will come to your mind that never would have come just sitting down like this. And it comes out in the Shackleton book. And I would be on a jog when we used to live out in County Road 48. I would be jogging around there getting ready for a marathon. And all of a sudden I said, I better call this client, or I better deal with this student like this, or I better call this veterinarian this. Stuff will come into your mind that it never would do, sit in front of television or just sitting and meal, because the blood supply to your head has gone up.
Yeah. I have that happen to me, and then I forget by the time I'm back there what I was thinking of.
Well, sometimes, actually, I've been known to take a tiny scrap of paper.
And write it down when you're on your run?
Write it down when I'm on my run. Because, I'm not the first to tell this. This is a huge part, and some of the geniuses in the world, the Einsteins and some of these, they got their best thoughts when they were getting exercise. It's not just me sprouting this off. This is well known. It's a physiological phenomenon, well known for mankind for a long time.
Uh-huh. So obviously you did lots of marathons. You were a big bicyclist at one point. What's your what hobbies?
Oh, well, I make radio control models.
Yeah.
And of course, that's very meticulous, intricate, takes a lot of thinking. I can spend a lot of time up in my hobby shop away from my wife, away from television, not eating food, listening to easy music. When I'm up there in my hobby shop, I'm listening to easy music. Jeremiah, I'm on another planet. And I don't just sit there watching the rubbish on television. I'm doing something good for my hands, like surgery, and good for my head. So there's a lot of mental. You get these instructions how to build this model airplane. And these come in boxes of parts and wood, and plastic and wire. You got to put it together, and then you got to fly it. It's got to fly.
Is that one of your happy places then?
Yes.
Where you go and can relax?
Yeah, I can relax, and I've got some people that like to fly with me and everything, and these are pretty cool. And I think if I hadn't, this is probably something I don't think I've ever told you. When I was in university, I was in the University Air Squadron, like ROTC.
I did not know that.
You know what ROTC, like ROTC.
Oh, okay, ROTC.
ROTC, yeah.
Okay.
And because in the late 60s, Australia was pretty big in Vietnam. Not as big as this country. And it wasn't our biggest mistake, but we were in Vietnam. And we had national service where your name could come up and you could end up in Vietnam instead of going to university. And I joined the University Air Squadron. And every month we had to meet, and I had a uniform and the whole lot. And then if I hadn't have gotten to vet school, I would have joined the Air Force. And then got through all that and then joined the commercial aviation.
So you've always been interested in
I've always been interested in flying, and my father was a pilot in World War II.
Okay.
He flew a P-47 Thunderbolt. He flew a Spitfire once, and he flew a Hawker Hurricane, bombing the Japanese in Burma, which is now Myanmar, bombing. And he would bomb their bridges and where the Japanese was, because Japan was as close to Australia as Mexico is from you here. They were pretty, and don't forget, remember what they did Pearl Harbor. And so he was big into the Royal Australian Air Force. So I was nearly going to become a pilot, but I got into vet school and the rest is history. And so that was my sort of fallback career, was going to become an Air Force pilot, and fly.
I did not know that. Yeah, that's interesting.
And I had the uniform and the whole damn lot, just like and I'm very, very respectful for the U.S. military, whether it be Air Force, Marines, or whatever. And I'm very quick, if I see them, it may be at DIA, I'm very quick to salute them. I don't rush up to them and pat them on the back. I just do this. It's my way of saying, job well done. Yeah. Because this country is fabulous. And I think I've told you I've been to Arlington 3 times.
On that topic, I remember you telling me when you were in, I think it was Craig Hospital, recovering probably from your second bike accident.
Yeah, right. And, it was Craig.
And I remember some of the stories you told about, during recovery and some of the other patients that you met.
Oh, there. Yes. There were a few patients there, and they'd been in a roadside bomb blast in Iraq or somewhere. I remember one pulling up his pants and showing me a titanium leg from the knee down. And I said, Simon, these are yours. They're not his. He got those from the hardware store. So it was a big wake-up call to say, hey, you're not doing too bad.
Yeah.
To see this.
Put things into perspective.
Oh, totally. And I would be a big sympathetic on that.
Yeah.
When they showed me their leg. Titanium from the knee down.
Lots of fighters there.
Oh, yes.
Recovering.
Yep.
Yeah. Anything you remember from that time as far as...
Well, interestingly, I can remember hardly anything. I do remember Anne coming down and taking me out to lunch a few times. But it was terribly boring and lonely in hospital. But some people had been in there for months, recovering from shit. I wasn't in there for that long, but it put things in perspective when you see what it could have been. It's a bit of a wake-up call. Yeah. I dodged a bullet. I had a good look over the edge.
I always think there's no one in my part, for me personally, there's no one that is more passionate than you in regards to how you tackle everyday things, and I.
In what respect? What do you mean? But expand on that.
You don't do anything half-ass.
The sky's the limit.
Yep. Do you feel that some of that have you always been that way?
I've always been. That's why I came to the States.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of my classmates never left Australia. But, at 23 years old, I packed my bags and flew to Columbus, Ohio. So I had a little bit of let me expand on that. People with interesting careers have taken risks. People that have done interesting stuff have taken risks. Yeah. And people who've got good careers have had 2 or 3 careers. The Wright Brothers, what was their first thing they did? They repaired bicycles. Okay. They're from Dayton, Ohio, where I was married. Then they got into kites. Then they got into airplanes. And then in 12 seconds at Kitty Hawk, which I'm going to visit sometime, Wilbur Wright went up in a plane for 12 seconds, the first man ever to fly. The rest is history. Yeah. Imagine if you could tell the Wrights about a plane that can go from Los Angeles to Melbourne non-stop. He'd say, what planet are you from? It wasn't without, okay, they changed careers, but they had risks.
Yeah.
He was up there. It could have crashed and killed his ass.
So your passion and your intensity for things has been there forever. It wasn't from looking over the edge.
No. It's been in my personality all along.
Yeah.
I've always been a bit of a risk taker. I've always been a bit crazy. Taking risks.
In what way? What do you mean?
Well, I take risks. I'd take risks as kids. I grew up on a dairy farm. Yeah. And I was a tree climbing nut. My parents would go for a dinner party. I'd be out in the backyard of the peoples that invite us, looking at a tree to climb. I was a tree climbing nut. I'm a serious tree climber. Anne can't climb trees. She's scared of heights. But I would love to climb. I'd go and say, I think I can get up that side and go to that branch. I was a tree climber when I was 10 years old. It's always been in my DNA.
Yeah. I was speaking to Jen last night, and I said, Jen, I'm interviewing Simon tomorrow, and what stories has Simon told you that I ought to ask him about? And she brought up the possum story.
On my head?
Yeah.
Well, we had, growing up on the dairy farm, there were these Australian, these are not the little possums, these are called brush-tailed possums, which is shit this big. They weigh 20, 30 pounds, big. But they're damn near, they're big. They're marsupials.
Yeah.
And I was coming home near our milking shed. There was a mother possum who'd climbed a lamppost and fallen down, and the mother looked like she was dead, and I gave it a kick and said, "This damn thing's dead." But I looked in the pouch, and there it had a baby in its pouch, and it was not bigger than my hand. We took that possum home, fed it with milk with an eyedropper. It grew up to be a pet, like a dog. And I've got a picture this very day of that possum sitting on my head. We used to put it on the back of a dog and walk the dog, and the possum was hanging on the back. But it was totally friendly.
Yeah.
It was a brush-tailed possum.
Interesting. That's pretty funny. Yeah, she remembers that story you told her. I think you told her that when you and her were out cross-country skiing up at Steamboat when we visited your cabin.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I told about the possum. Yeah, I mean, we raised the damn possum. And Australia's got some interesting animals with the marsupials. And Australia, geologically, it's an extremely old country. And there's some minerals. I'm not into geology, but there's some minerals. I mean, we're talking titanium and big-time stuff like that. That's in nowhere else in the world because it's an old country. Yeah. And it's older than this country because it's geologically it's extremely old. And that's why gold and these big companies and coal and is big because it's an old country. It's, I mean, we're talking millions of years old.
So you mentioned Anne, and she's afraid of heights. You said
she's a bit afraid of heights. What people don't realize, she got her pilot's license.
Really? I had no idea that.
She's from Dayton, Ohio.
So she had a pilot license, huh? That's really interesting.
It's now expired.
Yeah.
And here's a story. She had to fly to get her logbook signed. She had to fly from Dayton, Ohio to Muncie, Indiana, which is the next door state. Single, on her own. On her own.
Now, when did she do this?
Vet school, when she's in vet school.
Okay.
Or before vet school.
Yeah.
And she learned to fly in a Cessna, which is a high wing.
Okay.
Which is a Cessna 180, which is a fairly standard plane to use to start. Then, when she got to Muncie, Indiana, they were mainly Piper, which are low wing. Okay, and the guy walks out, or she pulled up, a guy walks out to sign it. He keeps staring and said, "There's a woman in this." And he forgot it was a high wing plane and hit his head on the wing. Oh shit, it's a Cessna, not a Piper.
Yeah.
And he hit his head on the wing, but he signed it and she. But
I had no idea about that with Anne.
She got a pilot's license.
So how long have you and Anne been married?
44 years.
Wow.
My first and only wife. And what kind of disturbs me now, a lot of people are seeing people such as our president and film stars and people with millions of dollars go 3 and 4 marriages. Marriages still work, and your parents are a good example. My parents were married till the day they died. Marriages still work. 44 years.
What's the secret? So that whole book is your one-liners?
No, there's a lot of students.
It. You've got enough of them.
No, there's a little student. This was a 50th birthday, and they summed them up.
Don't let the linea alba stand between you and a diagnosis.
You're a colic surgeon, you know that.
So I once shed a segment this long.
Now, what's shedding segments got to do?
Oh, I know what. Why don't you tell us? We talked about food earlier, so.
Well, when we'd have these MDs to do research in the lab, we'd order lunch.
Yeah.
And I'd be hungry. I might have swum that morning, and been in surgery all day. Shit, I'm getting hungry. We better order. It might be Young's or Mackie D's or whatever. I'm so hungry. I could shed a segment. And people think, what do you mean shed a segment? And I would tell them I had a tapeworm. And when there was no food going down there, it started to break apart and the segments of the tapeworm would come out of my rectum. That's shedding segments because you're so hungry. You're not putting enough food in your mouth.
They don't want to stay inside of you. They're leaving you.
They're leaving me, segment by segment. And a lot of physicians have no idea what a tapeworm is.
Looking at you like you were crazy.
They had no idea what a tapeworm was.
Yeah.
But being veterinarians, we know what the hell tapeworms are. That's a serious veterinary issue.
Yeah.
And I'd say, hey, I'm shedding segments.
That's one of my favorites. What else you got in there?
Oh.
A chance to cut is a chance to cure, yeah.
Okay. Flat out like a lizard drinking. They don't drink that too fast. You don't see lizards going.
So you did. This is one. So what would you nickname the lab?
Oh, the Sheep Hilton Spa and Tennis Club, or the Sheep Health Institute of Technology. Right, don't abbreviate that. Joe, don't abbreviate that. This was my 50th birthday.
Yeah.
That's when I was.
That's when you dressed up
as Elton John.
That's perfect.
And I have seen Elton John live.
Yeah.
Okay, go through a couple of one-line. Got all the one-liners tabbed here. Oh.
You'd get
tiny little bit of students. I could spay 20 dogs with that. As students get a bit wasteful, you're wasting your suture. I could spay 20 dogs with that. Oh, here's one.
Sometimes you got to put the tack hammer down and get out the sledgehammer.
That's getting serious.
Yeah.
And that could be in anything. If someone's pissed you off at a bar, you got to get nasty. You got to put the tack hammer down and get nasty. Get the sledgehammer out. Oh, handing instruments.
Yeah.
This is. Get us a pen or something.
Here, I got something because you're going to use this here in a minute. Anyway, you may not remember. You may guess what this is for in a minute, but you can use that.
Okay, I still get students who graduated say, "You taught me how to hand instruments," and I'd say, "Hand this scalpel," and they'll go like this. And I said, "I went out with a girl that kissed like that." Like you mean it, dude. And I get letters from students saying, I never forget what you said about handing instruments.
Yeah.
Okay. I got these are one-liners. And as I told you, the two quick bridges between two people. Humor. And that's what Shackles said. He said to his dudes, don't lose your sense of humor. It's in this book.
Well, you never have lost that. I know that for sure.
Oh, here's one. This is special to me.
Okay.
I've got a handwritten letter from Bill Morgan.
Oh, okay.
Of Morgan Library fame.
On campus here.
Yeah. He was president of the university.
And did you know him personally?
I cooked dinner. I cooked a dinner for him in his house.
Okay.
And he wrote me this. This is a handwritten letter.
That's neat.
And look, Morgan Street, Morgan Library. There he is. A handwritten letter.
So he was in your house for dinner?
No, I went to his house. He didn't come to our house.
Okay.
I went to his house with a meal, and I cooked the meal.
Oh, you cooked the meal at his house?
At his house.
Okay. What other people have you had? I know you've had a couple of famous people for dinner.
We've had 4 Olympians in our house for dinner.
Yeah.
One we saw win the gold medal in Montreal.
Wow.
In the 3-day event. Tad Coffin, the 3-day event, we saw him win his gold medal.
That's neat.
We've had Philip Anderson, a cyclist, who was in the Tour de France. We've had some other people who were in the horse part of the Olympics that Anne will remember. Okay. There's my paper in Nature, sheep shaker.
Oh, yeah? Oh, yeah, there is a sheep shaker.
See, that's why this wouldn't be the same having it online.
Yeah.
With a laptop.
No, this is really neat how you have all of this.
Oh, that's my graduation speech in 1999. I gave the send-off. I was asked to give the send-off speech at graduation.
Yeah.
Well, I have seen hundreds and hundreds of students graduate, and I can't remember their names.
Yeah.
But a lot of people said that was a good speech. And what I did was, it was why my research was like cooking. Research and cooking? Well, I'll go through some of the key events. I'll give the rules. Okay, I'll say... Let me share with you a list of rules that good chefs live by that apply to veterinary medicine. So that's, it could go, they don't have to be large animal or anything, just vets, how cooking relies to vet medicine. Successful chefs understand the virtues of patience and perseverance. Okay, whatever you do.
So rule 2, right?
Rule 2 is foster teamwork. Good chefs don't work alone. Look at the top restaurants. They're not just one chef. They've got a ton of people in there.
Yeah.
Workers, it's like your veterinary practice. It's not you.
Right.
You're a team. Rule 3, keep on learning. Top chefs in the country are continually learning new techniques. They are avid readers of cooking magazines and so on. So, like VetMed, don't just keep learning. I'll learn from your failures. Oh, okay. I was at a restaurant, probably at ORS, and I was fortunate enough to have a tour of the kitchen. And I was asking the head chef there, what's his best teacher? One of the best teachers in cooking. What's the best teacher in the cooking game is? Failure.
Yeah.
Now, I've screwed up a fair good dinner parties, but I don't make my living selling food. And that's what they do. They said, well, we better take this off the menu.
Yeah. I've never had a bad meal at your house.
You need to talk to Anne. She's had some of my 3-ring binders.
She's your best critic?
I'll take it out and I'll put a big line through it and say, not again. But I'm not making my living doing that.
Right.
And you go to some of the restaurants here in town, that's how they do it.
Yeah.
If it's not selling, because that's money.
Right.
Okay, accept responsibility for those and mistakes. I'll develop a niche and a skill. Now, I don't know why I'm telling you this, because that's what you're already doing. You've got a niche now. And I go back to my vet school reunion, and they're still neutering pets like they learned years ago. You're in a different class here now. You're doing something your classmates will never hear about. And you're developing a niche because there's so many. Don't follow the masses. Do something that's unique to you. And your father's a perfect example. Yeah. He's got his own niche here. He's got a niche. Just do that. Yeah. And that's how this lab's developed. I developed a niche that no one else is doing. Right. The orthopedic, using sheep, started in Switzerland. Okay, where are we up to? Rule 7.
Yes, Rule 7, yeah.
Do something to help someone else. Keep life in balance. Balance the spices. Don't overdo spices. And exercise. So class of 99, happy that's cooking. Neat. Anyway, that's it. What else? We're getting to the end here. Yeah. Oh, here's some one-liners. Oh, there's a sheep on the table. Big deal. Get back, Loretta.
Oh, there's the one. Oh. Try like a steer.
Yeah. Try like a steer. And these physicians would say, a steer? What do you mean try like a steer? They have no idea that castrated male cows try to mount each other. They're steers. Try like a steer? You know what that is. Here's another one. Slicker than hair on a frog. Joe knows that one.
That one.
Oh. He's got one foot in the grave and the other is on a banana skin. People would say, how's that sheep doing? Not good. It's got 2 legs in the grave and the other 2 are on banana skins. Okay, it's as easy as pulling this. It's as easy as pulling the skin off a rice pudding. Okay.
That's neat.
So that's why I don't have it all. It wouldn't be fun. I want the weight on my legs. I want a beer or a wine or a coffee here to go through that. Yeah. That's what gives me a buzz. Well, this has been an absolute pleasure to do this. And might be cry. Tears of joy.
That's good. So long.
So long, Joe.